Hello everybody, my name is Coffeebreak and welcome back to the Coffeecast Brood War Edition, where we totally guess our way through because we haven't played the game in about 7 years. Casting with me tonight, as always, is going to be my co-caster SleeperCells. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing good. Real excited to start casting a little bit of Brood War, even if it's not quite time for the Remastered Edition. This is just getting me excited for it.
Alright, spawning on the lower left-hand side is going to be our red Terran player, Panatic. And on the top right-hand side of Fighting Spirit is going to be the yellow Zerg player, Anthrod. So, I'm not sure, I don't really know much about this game. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't know much about the game we're watching, let alone Brood War, but I don't know anything about really either of these two players. I actually can't even remember which player sent me the replay. I think it might have been the Terran, but I'm not actually certain.
Well, we are certainly starting off this series just like we ended the Starcraft 2 series. Not knowing much of anything, but figuring it out as we go along.
Oh, man. I feel like we do that just a little bit too often. Zerg up at 10 supply here. I guess nothing really to happen yet. Do you remember the timing that either the spawning pool or the first hatchery would be going down? We do have the drone coming out here.
Well, first off, it did look like there was a bit of an not overpool. What is the word?
No, yeah, that's the right word. Wait, isn't it?
No.
No.
It's the extractor trick is what I'm looking for. Extractor trick. We went ahead and put down an extractor, canceled it. Got one extra drone while I was building that overlord. This seems to be, from what I remember, this is a really standard timing. You do always want to go hatch first, pretty much versus every single race in this game. Just because with this game specifically, you want as many hatches as you can, as quickly as you can, and you don't necessarily need the Zerglings for any early attack, because I mean, look at the Terran base. Barracks isn't even halfway done yet.
Yeah, and not to mention we are going to be in cross spawns here as well, which of course the Zerg does not know quite yet. But going hatch first here, going to be perfectly safe, even going for that extractor, so it looks like probably, more likely than not, fast metabolic boost. Always the option for a fast lair, but I don't really see that happening in this case. SCV is going to get a full scout, see exactly what's going on, see that spawning pool going up late, should be seeing a command center following up fairly shortly thereafter, I would assume. And indeed,
yeah, it looks like the SCV's heading down there to do so.
There we go, yeah, little turnaround trick there, but yep, SCV heading down to the low ground.
Yeah, so it looks like Zerg's settling in. Probably going to do, if I remember correctly, what was really standard back in the day for ZvT was heavy mutiling play. So you definitely go into those mutas early, just trying to bounce back and forth between bases. Looking at the bases on this map on Fighting Spirit here, this is natural. The backside, look at how open that is. You've got a ridge line up at the top here. That's going to be so juicy for mutas to bounce up and down from.
I was trying to desperately watch a little ZvT going into this because I realized about, I don't know, an hour before we decided to cast this that I've only been watching like PvZ and PvT and PvP because I'm a Protoss player, and I decided, I should check what matchup I'm going to be casting today, and I saw ZvT and kind of went, shit. So I watched a little Flash J Dong, so I'm not going to say I'm an expert now, you guys, but I'm getting there. SCV coming back into the base. He was sitting in that lower left-hand corner of the main base. Going to see the timing of that Hydralisk den. So, and, oh man, and the timing of the lair as well. So we might actually be going into quick lurker play here. First couple of Zerglings spawning out. Second gas being taken already down in that natural expansion. I think we're going to be seeing a little bit of splash damage coming out of this Zerg player.
Yeah, lurkers. I honestly completely forgot about how popular they were in ZvT. For good reason. You put a couple lurkers down, they're just going to melt a marine line. Speaking of which, we've been really focusing on the Zerg player. What the heck is our Terran doing? Looks like he is going into one barracks, one factory. So we're probably going to see Vulture early, would be my guess. A little bit of Vulture harass going into some siege tank play.
A couple of spider mines would make a pretty big difference to help try to clear up some of these Zerglings should a Zergling lurker attack come in. One bunker already down at the front. It looks like a second one going to go up, and SCV actually starts a supply depot there. Back over at the Zerg base, we have, well, looks like some droning up going on. We do have lurker tech on the way, though, so that is indeed going to be what's coming out. A couple of Zerglings finally coming out across the map to pull off their second scout. No comsat stations at the moment here. A machine shop going down on that factory, probably to get some siege tech going. And it looks like with that second factory going down, probably going to be seeing a little bit of mech play out of Panatic.
Ooh, mech play, always love me some mech. A lot more viable back in the day in Brood War here. Looking forward to seeing some of the sweet siege tanks moving across the map, as we do see siege mode is being researched at that machine shop there. So we're gonna see some good old slow push Terran. Maybe after this initial push with an SCV, probably put down a bunker. We're gonna see a little bit of early harass going on.
I don't know about the bunker. The creep is spread out fairly far here, but the first few Hydralisks are out on the field. There is a sunken there, so I really don't see this doing really any damage. Well, I mean, then again, there really isn't all that much on the field right now. First circling does go down. He does see the sunken. Ooh, a Marine even gets picked off there, and the Terran Panatic wisely does back off after that. Anthrod does have his first set of lurkers on the way. I'm not sure if the Marines saw those morphing in, but even if he didn't, he saw that.
Lurkers.
Yeah, he saw that early Hydralisk den. I think that he's got to know what exactly is coming. We have 2 lurkers there, and wow, more lurkers on the way as well. Hydralisk, another Zergling coming out as well, and the Zerg player starting to ever so slightly move out across that map there. Siege tech is done already. We do have spider mines on the way. The first siege tank is out. First vulture is out. Once again, if he could get a couple of spider mines out before this attack hits, which I'm not even sure. Is he going to be attacking? It looks like he's just kind of moving out on the map ever so slightly, moving forward. He might just be going for a little bit of a contain, maybe even doing a little bit of lurker hold positioning there to try to hold off the Terran and do a couple of surprise attacks in the middle of the map.
Yeah, it definitely looks like he's just sort of setting up, sort of getting a little bit of map vision, map control with these lurkers, setting them up just in various spots on the map. We even got one outside of his natural, but it sort of makes sense for him to be pushing out a little bit like this, getting a little bit of map control, as he has taken his third base up here in the north on the left side of the map. So he will be sort of starting to think about macroing up pretty hard here. There won't be any sort of early timings.
One lurker is going to get a couple of free shots off there. 2 Marines already dying, getting a few shots to stop, actually just barely hitting a couple of tanks. And I think I heard a 3rd Marine die as well. A nice little pickup for Anthrod, who's beginning to pull some lurkers ever so slowly across the map and getting a little bit of preemptive damage done, as well as some map control. Vulture's taking a couple hits as well there. There's a pretty soft one down there.
Yeah, these lurkers definitely doing their job already, pushing forward, keeping the Terran back. Terran was really thinking about pushing out, probably maybe to take this third base, maybe just start making an aggressive play on the map. But the lurkers completely stopped it. He didn't know how many units were down there until he finally gets a scan off and is able to pick off the 2 right in front of his base. But the Zerg playing smart here is going to have several back sort of outside of scan range, which is really, really important to do. You don't want to bunch up your lurkers, because if you do, it's going to get really bad really fast with a bunch of siege tank shots taking them all out. As the Terran, once again, going to move out and going to lose a couple more units to these lurkers. 1 vulture already going down. He's just walking right through the lurkers, taking all this damage for free.
Well, he did manage to dodge a couple of shots there, but yeah, tanks did get just ever so slightly softened up. Those vultures do have ionic thrusters now, or darn near. A couple of lurkers caught out in the middle of the map, unburrowed. Oh my goodness, he could have totally taken that one out for free if he had wanted to. Zergling's gonna move forward, gonna get picked off maybe by, yep, that one mine blowing up there. Queen's Nest is down, by the way, double Evo chamber, but it looks like the Terran player might have a little bit of a timing window. There's not much back home to defend right now for the Zerg.
Yeah, there's a lot of units, a lot of spider mines, couple tanks here all setting up. Lurkers are doing what they can to hold here, but against this mech army, they're really not doing a ton of damage, although the spider mines actually clearing up most of that Terran army on their own.
That was an amazing pull. I think that even looked a little bit on purpose. Those lurkers got right up on top of those, as we do have a lurker sieging the front right now, actually, of Panatic as well. I don't think that there's going to be any energy for scans. We have 1 comsat at 31, 1 at 81 in the main there. So I do believe he has enough energy for a scan, but instead just going to lose the bunker, probably lose the supply depot as well. That's a nice little free pickup for Anthrod there. Back home, looks like we do have the hive on the way. What do you think we're going to be seeing coming out? I'm actually not sure. Defilers, perhaps?
It's definitely a possibility. We are seeing, at least for the Terran, he is going into the science vessel, so we will have a little bit of mobile detection coming out here pretty quickly, which is going to be very important to deal with these lurkers. So that's probably why we're seeing our Zerg player probably starting to move away from the lurker attack. At this point in the game, it's just not going to be nearly as powerful. You're going to want probably more Ultralisks here is going to be your best bet to deal with this amount of tanks. Get a bunch of armor on that. It's going to be fantastic. We do see a couple upgrades going down. Double Evo for the Zerg, just starting to push out those upgrades, whereas Engineering Bay looks like there is just the one for the Terran, and it's not even doing anything right now. Upgrades right now are 002. Looks like 0-0 still for the Zerg as the upgrades have begun.
I'm looking around. I can't find an armory actually anywhere in Panatic's base, unless I'm missing something here. He's still just sitting on currently 3 factories as he pushes out across the map with more vultures here. One more spider mine gets picked off by those lurkers, so no map control for Panatic today. Nice little grouping of mines out here in the middle of the map as well. Going for 2, like you mentioned, 2 attack upgrades, so 1 for the ranged and 1 for the melee attacks, and it looks like Ultralisk Cavern is actually going to be the order of the day for a Zerg player, so going to get some really tasty Ultra action as we do have more lurkers getting pumped out. No second base, or pardon me, no third base on the way quite yet for our Terran player, but starting to get a little bit more map presence, so we can get at least a little bit better idea of what's going on.
Yeah, Round Overlord coming out right now, so not quite getting the units for the push. He was going to be a little supply blocked if he tried to throw out a bunch of Ultras, but he definitely does have the money for it. It's at about 15-1, which is going to be really, really nice for a nice little batch of Ultras. Looking at the Terran, looks like Terran is very well... a couple mines going off there to the right side of the map, killing quite a few units, actually. Really, really well done with the mines, as we see several lings down in the middle of the map as well. But yeah, with the Terran player... He's definitely pushing out, keeping control of this middle portion of the map. But while he's doing that, he's not really doing much to the Zerg. The Zerg has been pretty free to drone up. If you look at his bases, he's well saturated and everything except for his main. His natural and his third are very well saturated. He's got quite a few hatches, pumping out units. Pretty quickly here, he's going to start shoving out a ton of Ling Ultra. As you see, the first batch of Ultras is about halfway done.
Nice little batch of Zerglings coming out as well, and that's going to mean that he's probably going to be on 1 attack upgrade for those Lings and Ultras, while once again our Terran player is still sitting on 0. I'm still looking around and not... There we go. There's 1 armory down in the natural expansion going for the weapons for his vehicles. A couple of science vessels coming out, and probably going to be getting some irradiates off on this Zerg army. And, oh, Zerg army's going to run right up onto those spider mines. A nice little batch of Zerglings do die there, and is probably, going to be able to take out that lurker as well. Currently, supplies looking at 108 for our Terran player, and 87 for our Zerg player, but 3 Ultralisks out on the field. No armor upgrades on those yet, so Vultures still going to be fairly effective there.
Yeah, these Ultras are sort of like baby Ultras. They don't really have the upgrades. They don't have the armor upgrades or the actual upgrades through the Ultralisk Cavern. So they're going to be a little bit less strong than they would be otherwise, as they're pushing across the map, sort of potentially looking almost for a counter. No, here they go, moving in. They are actually going to get right up on these tanks, though, as the Lings get through as well. These tanks are all going to get cleaned up almost immediately. 1 Irradiate going down on 1 Ultra, but it's sort of staying away from its partners. The Zerg are actually going to clean up here with a little bit of reinforcements. Quite a few mines left on the field, but he actually unburrows them. Oh, there we go. That's a big hit.
Oh, that was painful to watch. If he'd pulled that Ultra back, it probably would have been just fine, but losing the Ultra and a handful of Lings as well. Ultra's getting up on top of those Vultures. Spider-Mine taking out 1 Ultralisk. Another pretty low on health there. Probably should run that away, and, well, does manage to take a couple of Vultures out with it. That was an okay engagement for the Zerg. A bad engagement overall for the Terran player. It was looking a little iffy, I thought, for the Zerg player, as all of his Zerglings were bunched up on the ramp, not able to get a good surround, but those Ultras coming in from the back, absolutely clutch. In the meantime, we have Panatic taking his 3rd base, just slowly getting that saturated, and also pushing out across the middle of the map once again. Vultures and siege tanks. Back at home, starting to pump out Hydralisk, Ultralisk. Now that we have the gas off of 3 bases, this mining not too terribly efficient over in that 3rd base for our Zerg player. It looks like Panatic just moving up ever so slowly. It looks like our yellow Zerg, Anthrod's going to try to move up, clear out some of the mines there. But the Zergling's going to get cleaned up in fairly short order, only taking out 1 mine with them.
Yeah, we're seeing the Zerg as soon as he pretty much noticed that there were science vessels on the map, as they're sort of poking around here, looking, seeing what they can do. He started pumping out some, Hydralisks, and he has a Spire down as well. So he will be getting more than likely some Scourge. I'd be real surprised if we saw any Mutas into Science Vessels. Not exactly the best decision in the world, as Science Vessels tend to clear up little batches of Mutas really, really quickly. Hydra's pushing out in the middle of the map, just sort of trying to clear out as much of these mines as they can. This sort of, not quite contained, sort of poking back here by the Terran has done quite a bit to hold on to the middle of the map here, which has allowed him to take this third base quite a while ago. A couple of SCVs there, though, not exactly what you want to see.
A nice little engagement in the middle of the map there for Panatic, by the way. A lot of Zerglings going down, a couple of Ultralisks as well. We do see a nice little bit of, Vulture presence over on that right side of the map, making sure the Zerg's not going to be expanding over to the right. Zerg can't really expand to the left side. So for now, with Panatic positioned in the middle of the map, he's kind of got full map control right now, which is really nice for him. +1 has finished, by the way, for those tanks. Still have just +1 on both the attack and the melee and the ranged upgrades for our Zerg player. +2 about to finish.
Well, we do actually see some Mutas coming out from our Zerg player here. Up in his third base, we've got a handful of Mutas and Scourge. As we do see the full army of the Zerg actually going to clear out this third base, letting him finally get up a fourth here. So we're going to see actually quite a bit of Muta play here. Hopefully he's going to be able to pick off these Science Vessels before clumping. Oh, look at that big hit by that Radiate. He's going to take a ton of damage on those Mutas. Look at the Mutas. They're becoming a fall. Mutalisks.
Oh man, he lost so many Mutalisks there to that one Radiate, especially after taking out that Science Vessel early. I thought he was going to be just okay. Looks like the second Science Vessel going to go down as well. Tanks are going to get cleaned up by the Mutalisks. But, actually that is going to force Panatic to fall back, as actually he doesn't have anything on the map to defend against these Mutalisks right now. One more Radiate going down on a lone Mutalisk, not the best attack there. Couldn't quite get up on top of that Science Vessel as well. Actually might be able to take out a couple more Mutalisks. That one's so close, down to 17 health. Does just manage to survive for the moment. A couple of missile turrets going up to help defend the perimeter right now. Panatic, a little bit on a back foot, but not really hurting by any means. Just need to kind of hold himself off while he does get a little bit more air defense out.
Yeah, the Science Vessel is really, really good at cleaning up clumps of units, but if they're not clumped up, it's going to be really, really difficult for a Science Vessel to clear a batch of Mutas, which is really what we saw there. The Mutas sort of coming out at just the right time, clearing out just enough of the Science Vessels quick enough that he was able to sort of take back the middle of the map for just a moment, long enough to get this fourth setup. As we see a batch of Vultures getting cleaned up here in the sort of the right side of the map here. But we have received Goliaths on the field to help deal with them now.
Goliaths are online, and they are just about to get their +2 upgrade finish. He really needs to hold off, if he can, engaging until that +2 finishes. Put him back on even ground with the +2 attack of the Zerg player. No armor upgrades at all. I'm a little surprised not to see a little bit of the Ultralisk Carapace. Zerg is going to be pushing in here to engage. One missile turret up, going to be trying to clean up this Mutalisk. Zerglings and Ultralisk doing a number on those tanks, but I think that there's just too much for Panatic in the middle here.
Yeah, there was a great surround there. Units coming in from both sides, but just not going to be quite enough to clear out this huge army advantage from the Terran here. Look at the supply count. It's about 130 to 66. So the Terran player in a huge lead after that fight. As we do see another batch of Ling Muta starting to pop out. I'm concerned here for our Zerg player's position.
Especially considering that the Terran is now taking his fourth base on that top left-hand side. Just so close to the Zerg player. Oh my goodness. But the Zerg player also trying to take his fourth base over on the right-hand side. A group of Zerglings might be able to pick off a couple of Goliaths here. Nope, siege tanks coming in to reinforce. And these Zerglings might actually be able to scout the fourth base of the Terran, so he will be... There we go, will be aware of the fourth base there. We might see if he'll be able to clean that up, or at least force the liftoff for now. Going to be a little bit harder for Panatic to take that at the moment. But he is going to be pushing up towards the third base of our Zerg player, Anthrod. Tank's going to be sieging up and assaulting that Sunken down in 2 shots. Think he'll be able to clean this up? I think he might actually have a little bit of a chance. There's not much of a Zerg army nearby.
Yeah, he might very well, and that would be a huge hit to the Zerg, not even necessarily for the intake of money from this position, but because of how many hatches would go down, so much production. As you can see, the Zerg player just streaming in some Zerglings, doing the best he can to hold on here, and it looks like he's just barely going to be able to clean up here with the forces he has. Going to lose a lot for it, though. In the middle of the map, look at how much Terran army is still on the board.
He lost all his Mutalisks trying to defend against that. I don't think a single one survived. Defensive Matrix going down on those tanks, lasting just long enough to clean up a few extra Zerglings. That was a really nice engagement, actually, from Panatic, as Anthrod just really running low on, I guess, units in general. How do you say running low on everything for Brood War? He's down to just 90 supply, so up a little bit from earlier, but the Terran player sitting at 151, going to be assaulting the natural expansion. That's a lot of Ultralisks over here right now, and Goliath's really not all that good at taking out Ultralisks.
No, but the tanks are sort of doing their job here. Ultra's getting slowly whittled away, which, to be honest, at this point, slowly whittled away is just fine. There's so much Terran army. Although, really, actually, where did most of the army go? Looks like it's been sort of cleaned up slowly over time with these little Zerg engagements. So that huge army that looked almost unbeatable a couple minutes ago, the little fights that this Terran has been taking with, like, a little chunk of his army here, a little chunk of his army here, the Zerg has slowly been able to sort of push him back.
I loved the irradiates on his own tanks in the last battle that Panatic did, so that when the Zerglings came up on top of the tanks, they were actually damaging themselves while trying to take the tanks out. A brilliant little play there. I mean, in the meantime, on the bottom right-hand side, we do have the Terran trying to take his 5th base, while Scourges are just scouting around the map here. I think he might have been hunting for science vessels. None to be found, only missile turrets and a swift death. 4th base is fairly well established now for Anthrod, though. So his economy is starting to get going here. I don't know if he's going to be able to supply back up in time for the next Terran push, though. I would love to see a few more spider mines out on the map for those critical engagement zones. Vultures are going to be running up into the 4th. Zerglings over here all ready to defend, though. And mines, not even a single one getting deployed.
Yeah, the Terran's trying to do a couple pushes here or there. Once again, sort of sticking to the style of having this big, huge batch of things in the middle of the map. Goliaths, tanks, whatever it may be.
The Scourge actually just scouted out the 4th base, and immediately Mutalisks and Hydralisks begin marching down to that bottom right-hand side. Scourge going to be once again scouting around, I think once again hunting for science vessels. I don't think that our Terran player is actually going to be able to hold this if he so chooses to go in. And, in fact, a lot of SCVs already actually getting pulled out of here. I think that's going to be a lost cause. A couple of missile turrets going down, but it's way too late there.
Yeah, those SCVs sort of returning to base. But this little tiny group of Zerg forces, they're going to be able to clear this out no problem once they decide to. Eventually, you know, they want to take their time. Just let the one lane get some experience, get some kills. As they finally push in there, they're going to clear this out no problem at all.
Accidentally losing a couple Scourge there, which, while not the biggest deal, if I recall rightly, Scourge are at least a little bit gas heavy. You don't want to just be throwing those away, especially when you're already behind. We do have a few more lurkers back out on the map for the first time in a while here. As the Terran... What?
I think he noticed the fact that there were no science vessels. He's been poking around, trying to do what he can to just poke up and clear out these science vessels with the Scourge, and then he's like, oh, there aren't any more, so I might as well go back to doing lurkers. Lurkers were doing pretty well.
I mean, there are 3 science vessels in the middle of the map. No more in production right now, though. A lot of these do still have plenty of energy on them, and you only need a little bit, or I believe it's a 100 to irradiate, which is more than enough to... Ooh, only getting 2 Zerglings with that mine. More than enough to kill a single lurker. Irradiate doing 250 damage a pop. Zergling's going to be streaming up into the top left-hand side of the map, easily going to clear out this base. A lot of SCVs going down, and once again, just really hurting the economy. Oh, is he going to lift off that command center in time? It's going to be down in the red. The command center is actually going to die at the comsat as well. That's actually a really bad loss for our Terran player. If the Zerg player, Anthrod, can just clean up the science vessels, those lurkers are going to have free reign. Zergling's going to be trying to stream down into the middle, but oh, that's just not going to be a good engagement at all. So many Zerglings going to die practically for free here. Very little damage done. That was not a good move by Anthrod. Panatic he can bide his time in the middle of the map here. He's going to be just fine.
Yeah, he was able to pick off basically the mines, which is never really a good trade-off. He cleaned up the mines, maybe 2 or 3 vultures, a couple Goliaths, that kind of thing. he just didn't get what he wanted to get done there, I don't think. As we see, he's pretty much still contained to these bases, these 4. Really solid on him, but that's all he's got right now.
Yeah, but that being said, I was just checking out the mineral counts for all of the bases as the Terran player Panatic does try to move over onto the right-hand side. Probably going to be able to clean up this base over here, which is going to be a huge win because the Terran player is actually only mining from a single base, which the Zerg player is now going to be trying to stream over into, and there's absolutely no defense for Zerglings over here. In the middle of the map, more Zerglings streaming in, once again, into a siege line with this third base. The last mining base for the Terran Panatic is going to go down. All the SCVs dying as well. He is going to lift off that command center, but that's a huge loss.
Yeah, the Zerg really playing this pretty much the only way playing it round where the Terran was. The Terran had this huge giant army right in the middle of the map. Scary, terrifying army. So what's the Zerg do? The Zerg goes around it. Picks off a base here, picks off a base here. Make sure the Terran can't do much of anything outside of that one little push. As we see Zerglings even taking out the natural command center. It's mined out at this point, but he's still taking it out. At this point, there's actually no mining on the map for the Terran. The Terran is mined out at every single base, whereas the Zerg is still mining comfortably from 3 bases. So it went from being a problem, this huge Terran army in the middle of the map, to the Zerg just being able to slowly pick off pieces, destroy command center here, destroy a couple of cities here, doing little bits of damage, which has added up to the point where the Zerg player is sitting at pretty much the same spot he has been with the Terran at this point. It's down to 48.
There is one siege tank that has been sieged up over in the 4th base of the Terran, or pardon me, 4th base of the Zerg player. Did manage to accumulate 13 kills between drones and Zerglings before finally getting taken down. Defensive matrix going down on that. Might actually be able to take out this hatchery, which would be a huge victory, but no. Here come some Zerglings and Mutalisks down here, and I don't think it's going to be enough to be able to take out this hatchery in time. In the meantime, one command center is landed back down over on the left-hand side of the map for Panatic. If he can get a little bit more mining going down there, and over on the bottom right-hand side as well, if he can get a little bit of his economy back up and going, I think he's still going to be okay. Neither player is really comfortable enough to push out right now. In fact, the Zerg player just has drones sitting all over the middle of the map. Doesn't really have an idea where to put them. The main base really is the only place left that he can send those drones to. So neither player really mining. All the Zerg can do actually is pump out Zerglings because he has a lot of minerals and no gas. Opposite situation for our Terran player.
Yeah, Terran player sitting at almost no money whatsoever. His units on the field for at least a little while is pretty much all he's going to have. Because that's the downside right now for a Terran, is he's actually finally starting to get some SCVs back to work. He was really low on the worker count for a while. So now we're seeing the Terran player transition into more of a mobile force. It's still going to be mech, but it's going to be Goliath Vulture because he can't quite afford to be pushing out a ton of tanks right now.
So upgrades right now are sitting ever so slight in the favor of our Terran player. He's at 3-2 weapon and armor, whereas we have 3-1 for our Zerg, at least on melee attacks. Going to be pushing over onto this 4th-hand base as well. And Zerg player, I think he's going to have more than enough to clean up here. That's a lot of Zerglings for the Terran player to deal with so few Vultures and Goliaths. Goliath's going to be able to take out probably a couple of the Mutalisks here. I did not see that science vessel, though, and it looks like it's going to be a little close, but Zerg is going to clean up. A lot more Zerglings streaming down as well. I don't know if the Zerg has re-scouted the base going up, and oh no, going to be losing a couple of Goliaths practically for free here as well. Oh, is he going to get away? He really kind of needs to save every unit he can at this point. Going to lose that and a Vulture. So Zerg player now sitting up at 72 supply to just 61 of the Terran. Zergling's going to be streaming over to the left side of the map. I think he's going to be able to do a lot of damage to this base.
Yeah, SCV is getting pulled immediately. The Terran player knows he cannot do anything for this base. He's going to have to lift that off pretty quick here because the Lings are going to do so much damage very quickly. He's actually, once again, playing really dangerously. Those Scourge doing a lot of damage to the command center. Not exactly what you want to do with Scourge, but they're really, really threatening a kill on that. Meanwhile, though, this south base here, still hanging out, still being sort of the saving grace to the Terran. As long as this base stays up, he's got a chance.
Oh man, that command center is burning right now as we do see another small engagement in the middle of the map. A missile turret actually going to be gunning down a Mutalisk there. Is it going to get it in time? It is. So the Mutalisk going down for, once again, fairly much free. It's all these little victories that do give Panatic a chance still, sitting at 60 supply to the 84 of the Zerg player. Zergling streaming down. Once again, going to be running right past a minefield, just barely avoiding that hitbox. And the command center over on the left-hand side is burning. SCV's coming up to repair it. Lot of Zerglings into the middle of the field. One tank, defensive matrix, probably going to be wearing off fairly soon. A Goliath going to be running up a little far there. He's got to be so careful with every unit he's got left. But for the moment, like you said, as long as that bottom right-hand base stays up, Terran is actually coming back and fighting his way back into this.
Yeah, that bottom right bottom right base, really the saving grace of the Terran. A lot of cheap units on the field for the Zerg right now. A lot of Lings, a lot of Scourge, a lot of that kind of stuff. One Hydra actually slowly taking down that tank, and it will fall. Really, the Zerg, he's got a lot of stuff, but it's a lot of cheap stuff that can die really quickly if he gets in a bad engagement, as he looks like he's going around for some sort of a surround. No! Half of the units just sort of ignoring the fight here, continuing forward. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to push through this. It was really, really close, though. Scarily close.
That wasn't
for our Terran.
That wasn't too bad of an engagement for the Terran player, but he does need to pull these tanks out of the middle of the map, as he's just going to lose 2 more tanks. Oh, that is a devastating loss right there, considering he has so few tanks on the map right now. Zerglings they're so cheap, and they're just being so cost effective. A few Scourge getting cleaned up here, which is going to take away a little bit of the map control, but I'm not sure any Science Vessels remain on the map right now. Zerg once again going to be streaming over towards the left-hand side, going to lose. Oh my goodness! That mine getting so close to all those SCVs, but they are going to live for now. Did take a little bit of splash damage, but the Zerg player does know that there is mining going on that left-hand side once again. Both players down to essentially 1 mining base. Terran maybe has a little bit of an eco advantage right now, as he does have 2 mining bases at about half saturated, to 1 Zerg base being about half, 3/4 saturated.
Well, we do have, look at this 5th base. We got the spider mine holding it's actually in a hold position on that base there. So the drone actually cannot put down, but the drone actually poking down, seeing the base in the bottom right, and we see that huge conga line of Lings. They're coming down, and they do not look happy with the base, but they do look hungry.
That is going to be a really bad loss for the Terran player, who's not even going to be able to pull his SCVs in time, probably. I think all of these are going to die, or darn near. Does get the command center lifted off, but that was one of his main sources of income there. But in the meantime, we do have a small push going up to the top left. That siege tank was in range of the sunken colony, and it is going to go down. That was going to be the main part of that attack there. So that top left base probably going to be just fine with just a couple of Goliaths to try to take on a mostly full health sunken colony. Mine does explode on a couple of Zerglings. Oh man, this is such a close match, but I think the Zerg still has just a nice advantage with how cost effective these Lings can be with no siege tanks on the map.
Oh yeah, the Lings, I mean, look at this army now by the Zerg. It's just a big blob of yellow pushing across the map. A couple Spider Mines going to try and do it, but ooh, nice hit there. But they're just not going to be enough. These Lings, with as many upgrades as they got, they finally getting some armor and so much attack upgrades. They're just killing things faster than they're killing the mines faster than the mines can go up, as we do see another batch of Lings pushing on the left side of the space. The last mining base of the Terran getting sieged by a huge batch of Lings.
Running straight over that minefield, and actually not a lot of damage getting done. A lot of those were Scourges up there. Does manage to take out the sunken colony and maybe a couple of drones on that top left-hand side, but also losing his 3rd base, or I guess maybe his 4th. I can't remember which number that was.
Base.
Yeah, the last mining base. So now we have the Zerg player on 1 mining base. Panatic GG's out. That was a funny match. That was a pretty phenomenal game. At the end of the game here, we have 80 supply for our Zerg player, down to just 20 for the Terran player. That was an amazing game. If the Zerg had not scouted that lower right-hand base, or had scouted it even just a little bit later, I really thought Panatic was making a nice comeback towards the end of the game there. If he had been able to keep just a couple more tanks alive, that also might have been a pretty big advantage for him.
Yeah, a couple more tanks definitely would have been helpful. It looks like he was upgrading well, so he definitely had the upgrade advantage, only barely. It was just he couldn't quite get a base established, and when he was able to get a base established, it was just sort of the too little too late.
So I guess that's it for the first coffee cast going into Brood War here. I guess the first one we're uploading. We might have had 1 or 2 practice casts going into this. And
you can thank us now for not uploading those.
Oh god, it was it was pretty bad. So Sleepers, I guess we don't really have much of a presence anymore. Because if you're watching this on YouTube, you already have my YouTube channel. I don't really have anything else. Sleepers, do you have anything?
I do. I have Twitter. Gosh, that's pretty much the only thing. I don't use it very much. But stay tuned. If you like what we're doing, if you like our cast, keep an eye on the Coffee Cast YouTube. I'm sure one of our future casts will start actually building stuff up. If you guys want to see it, if you guys want to see more of us, we will make it so that you can see more of us.
Yeah, Brood War probably going to be the main focus going forward here, as I guess a little bit of my childhood and the remaster coming out. There's a lot of hype coming up behind that. But if there's anything else you guys would like to see as well, please let us know, and happy to give it a shot. I guess until next time, guys, this is Coffee Break and Sleeper Cells signing out.
Bye, guys.